What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, talking today about the Xbox Scarlett, because it sounds like Microsoft's next home console may already be in trouble, and obviously, it's not even technically revealed yet. But certainly, due to these latest leaks, it seems like pretty much nobody right now is even working on games for it, and this is a very, very bad sign. So what's going on specifically is that there were a bunch of leaks this weekend revolving around the PlayStation 5. This weekend we actually saw some really HD photographs coming out of the dev consoles, the controller itself, and sort of learning more concrete facts about it. And it kind of actually raised a question, which is people were saying, where is the Xbox Scarlett? How is it that we have so many photographs and really concrete things about the PlayStation 5, and yet nobody's managed to slip out a picture of an Xbox Scarlett development kit? Do game series not have them? Are there game studios that just don't have the Xbox Scarlett? And now some people are actually confirming that that is unfortunately the truth. Nobody right now seemingly has an Xbox Scarlett, and due to some of these statements that have been revealed, it seems like it is very, very far from done. So one of the things that actually was said this week was by Tom Warren. This is the senior editor over at The Verge. This guy is super deep in the tech industry. If things happen, they cross his ear. They're on his desk as soon as they manage to come out. And something he said is that pretty much nobody currently has a freaking development kit for the Xbox Scarlett. And honestly, it sounds like a lot of game developers are being frustrated by this. They want to make games. Obviously, if you're somebody who's trying to make a big, giant, expansive world, you want to try and put it on every single system. You want to try and expand everybody who can possibly buy it to get your money back, right? That makes total sense. But they're frustrated because currently they have PlayStation 5s in front of them. They're able to sit down and test things. Obviously, when you're making a game, it's done on a computer. You're here and you're trying to do all your design processes. But what you typically do is you have a dev kit, that way you can take this code, put it on the system, and see how it runs. You're able to test benchmarks, you're able to compare things how they're running, because you're constantly trying to tune and optimize. Having a physical console in your office, or at least one in your studio, I've definitely heard rumors about people keeping like dev consoles down in the basement and they go down there and test things. It makes your work infinitely more easy because then you can obviously have a way to check it and check it and check it. You want your games to be as fluid as possible from start to finish. Keep in mind, a lot of games take 3 to 5 years to finish, so normally a lot of times you're able to test it thousands of times before the game is finally released to make sure it is perfect as possible, avoiding bugs, keeping things good, making sure it has a smooth frame rate. And I think we can all agree that Microsoft, they need to try and get these Scarlett kits out there, because the biggest issue that the Xbox One had, even if you love the Xbox One, which I did, let's face facts, the reason the Xbox One did pretty bad this generation is because it just didn't have enough exclusive games. Okay, like I loved Halo, I loved Gears of War, I really enjoyed Horizon, but let's face facts, those things are not as explosively popular as anything else was. I think we just need to acknowledge the fact that there were so many huge games coming out on the PlayStation 4. Look at Uncharted sales numbers. Look at how much Bloodborne managed to change the face of gaming. Not only are these games good and gorgeous, but additionally, we have to acknowledge that this is because the developers had a long time to tweak and tune it, making the games as absolutely perfect as possible before we even saw them. Long development cycles are no longer something I think we can really frown upon. I think more and more we all think about that Miyamoto quote, which is that a rushed game is bad, but a delayed game can be good. I mean, it's the sort of thing of, if you're able to really pace yourself out and finish a project on time, it's going to be better. But what's causing this? Why is it that there's not actually some Xbox Scarletts out there? What is really holding this up? Well, according to these statements, the problem is the Xbox Scarlett isn't done. It is behind schedule. Microsoft is currently trying to rush it to really hit the November 2020 release date. So going back to Tom here for a second, Tom Warren actually said a very specific statement about the Xbox Scarlett, and then I want to read a rebuttal by Jason Schreier. So here we go. Tom Warren said, "Hardly anyone has the Xbox Scarlett Dev kits. They're nowhere near final. That's why you're hearing a lot of nonsense about them not being powerful, etc. Microsoft wants to surprise Sony this time." Now that's a pretty exciting statement. I like the idea of this top secret super console that's going to just come out and blow everybody's minds and be 18 billion teraflops or whatever. But then, to try and keep us grounded, Jason Schreier dropped this very interesting nugget of truth. Not sure if the trying to surprise Sony part is quite right. Common sense would suggest that, like the Xbox One, Microsoft is just running behind schedule and will launch pretty hot. But I've talked to a few third-party developers who have said they're frustrated with the lack of info on Scarlett, especially compared to Prospero. Now this is the biggest thing of all that really kind of makes me personally very, very nervous. I want the Xbox Scarlett to be great, and I think that part of doing that is not just graphics. It's not just about solid-state hard drives. It's not just about load times. It's about making sure the thing is in the game developer's hands. It's about getting it out there so people can tinker with it. You know, I've worked a lot of bad jobs. I've actually had to do a lot of things just to try and survive. And something I did at one point is, for a short time, I did construction. I had to go to different sites and do all sorts of just really very strenuous manual labor to try and just basically eat. And what would happen is I worked for this construction company that would basically send me to a different site each day. You'd be building a batting cages one day, you're moving girders around with a forklift one day. But what happened this one day is that they were building a giant garage for auto mechanics, you know, one of those car repair shops. And they had hollowed out the underground where all the machinery would be to power lift all the vehicles. And they decided to just lower me down in there and try and clean up. They had basically been using like cement saws and stuff, so there was tons of cement dust underneath, so they just decided to give me a ladder, lower me into the underground, and try and clean up. Except the building was not complete, so I had to walk around in the dark for 8 hours. In pitch black, I was trying to sweep up dust. Just with a dustpan, literally sweeping things up with a broom and dustpan for 8 hours in solid darkness, and occasionally the foreman would come by with a light and literally shine his cell phone at the ground so I could see what I'd missed. Going around in the dark was so frustrating, it was so freaking confusing because I couldn't tell how much I had actually done. And at times, when I see the frustration of these game developers, it reminds me of that time, of just being stuck, of knowing you're working but not know how much work you're getting done. Okay, you're making a game. Do the graphics work? What are you actually building this on? It doesn't matter how much concept art you have or how many great ideas and cool soundtracks you already have written if there's not a game console to really put it on. Xbox Scarlett is something that I think definitely has a lot of pressure upon it. I think that in order for Microsoft to really hit it out of the park, they need to try and correct every single mistake of the Xbox One. This means that they need to try and have a good price that is at least comparable to the PlayStation 5. They need to have exclusive games at release that look big and appealing. And honestly, I think they need to try and be new IP because having a ton of sequels just is not working for them anymore. Halo Infinite sounds great, but let's face it, people are just not as hyped for Halo as they once were. And what they need to do more than anything is they need to show people that gamers are coming first. Screw having Netflix, screw all this streaming service stuff. Don't talk about xCloud. While those things may be interesting, people just need to see the games that are going to be in their hands on day freaking one. Currently, it seems like the PlayStation 5 is dominating the news cycle, mostly because Sony is being so careful about what they say. Even the leaks seem so tightly controlled. Every time we actually see a new schematic or a new thing coming out about the PlayStation 5, people seem to be excited just because it seems like it could actually be the future. This could be the next giant step for the PlayStation, and now we're kind of just sitting here and saying, what is Scarlett going to do? What is Scarlett going to be? We're not even certain that it's going to be actually a giant sequel to the Xbox One X, and I think that they need to come out and clear up the record. But these have just been my thoughts. I hope things go well, but at this point, who really knows? Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. By the way, this is a last minute thing. I actually meant to say this at the beginning of the video. There is that console giveaway I was doing in November. It ends in 3 days. If you want to enter the console giveaway, I'm going to be giving away a PlayStation 4, an Xbox One, or a Nintendo Switch to one random lucky person. It is on my Twitter. I'm putting a link to the tweet in the description box. 1,200 of you have entered. That's it. 1,000 people have entered. I have like 164,000 subscribers. Enter this contest. I want to give you a freaking game console. Thank you guys, and good luck to the winner. I'll announce it whenever the drawing happens. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.